In the subway train, an old blind woman raised a well-worn metal mug to my face. An old man who looked like her husband was helping her from behind with one hand. His other hand was holding a worn-out speaker. It was playing "May Happiness Be With You." Beijing had banned solicitation in the subway, but these beggars could still often be seen in the cars. Nobody wanted to be the bad guy or feel guilty, so no one would report them to the authorities. I put $5 in the mug. I usually wouldn't do something like this, but I just wanted them to leave me alone today. Besides, the beggars there were only a few other passengers in the train car. A mother and a son who had just come back from an amusement park. A couple who were laughing while looking at their tablet. A salaryman who apparently had just gotten off work. He was telling his honey on the phone to go to bed without him. I felt so envious. I didn't want to go home, because even at home, I would still be alone. The car was quiet except for the occasional chit-chatting, the wheels running along the tracks and the PA system announcing the stops. The next station is station B, because the first station was A, so obviously the next station is B. The next station is station G. That's... okay. The station G is a transfer station. Passengers from another line, please prepare to get off. The next station is station H. Station H is a transfer station. Passengers for another line, please prepare to get off. I can see where this is going. We're gonna have to figure out how she switches trains and gets to where she needs to go. The next station is station P. I wasn't sure how many stations it had been since I had gotten on the train. At station B, near my home. I didn't bring much of anything with me. Perhaps I should just keep going until I reached the final station in the countryside. I had enough money on me to buy another ticket to Tianjin, I think. I could go and watch the ocean there. The last time I had gone was when I was in elementary school. And I remembered that I had gone with my father at that time. Perhaps this time I wouldn't be coming back. I lay down on the chairs next to me and raised my left hand in front of my eyes. The fluorescent lights on the ceiling shone through my fingers as if they were blinking. The ring I had on my ring finger seemed to be fading out. God, were our fates already determined or not? Was it really something that could be changed? Well, you're gonna change station here in a second if I have something to say about it. Okay, so... BPHG. Let's try that. Let's see where that takes us. My phone just buzzed again. Another complaint from another customer, whining about the quality of my goods. Oh please, what kind of quality did you expect from something that cost you $5? I got off the train at a random station. I'd had enough. I didn't know how to keep living like this. There were very few people in the station. The next train was 5 minutes away. Oh, don't tell me this is going where I think it is. I stood there on the platform, completely still, for 5 minutes. Until the headlights of the train blinded me. Okay, nope. I learned one thing. Those movie scenes where a person gets hit by a train and then flies into the air were all lies. Achievement unlocked. Complete the profile of Li Wen. Okay, so that's gotta be a bad ending. Let's not do that. So, BHPG. Nope. BHGP? Nope. BGHP? No. BPGHG? No. So it's not B. Let's try with P. There we go. I stayed in the subway, changing from one line to another, hesitating. I finally decided to go home. It was already dark when I came out of Station B. It wasn't a highly populated neighborhood. The only reason he and I had decided to live here was because the rent was cheaper. The grass was tall near the exit, and the street lights were a little dim. I walked down the street and watched my own shadow getting longer and longer. Suddenly another shadow appeared next to mine, which was kind of weird. For a split second, I fantasized that it was his shadow. A wet cloth was put over my nose and mouth. It had a very strong smell. My brain stopped functioning. I was lost inside darkness. Okay, so that's not good. But what about PGH? Yeah. Well, I finally got home. I went into the apartment, carrying a full bag of random goods from the rural shopping mall. The place was a mess. Toys and clothing that I still hadn't sold were everywhere. I washed my face, and then the 2 apples that were in my fridge. They were the only edible things in there. I took a bite from one of them and put the other one in front of a photo of Mr. Wen. Hey, how have you been? I'm doing well. I would say this to his photo every time I came back. Then I would pretend that he had responded and asked about my day, to which I would then reply that I had been doing well. Even though it was a total lie. He'd had the surgery at the same time that I graduated high school. It was a success at first. However, during my freshman year in pre-med, things took a bad turn. The doctors said the cancer cells had spread. Without telling him, I took a leave of absence from the school to take care of him, and I started living with him. He was always cheerful in the beginning, assuring me that there were all kinds of new treatments available. I knew he was just trying to make me feel better. But I was still watching him, getting weaker and weaker, and losing the fight day by day. Cancer was a real monster. We were completely powerless against it. On this same day, 3 years ago, he was gone and left me all by himself. All by myself, not by himself. I had applied to medical school because of him, but I had lost all of my will to continue after he passed away. So I dropped out of school and started working. Since I didn't have my college diploma, all that I could get was some random part-time jobs. I used the spare time to manage an online shop selling small, cheap goods. My earnings could barely cover my monthly rent. Sometimes I literally couldn't afford meals, and I had to shamelessly go and beg for help from Ying, who had only recently gotten a job after graduating from college. Sometimes I wondered if there was any point in living like this. The only things that had kept me going were the precious memories of mine. I opened the glass doors of my cabinet. My notebook was on my right. I had all of the text messages between him and me. I'd copied them all down into the notebook from my phone. An artist collection book was right next to the notebook. He once took me to an exhibition for that artist. A photo album was placed to its left. I took the album out. The first photo in the album was the one with us in a coffee shop. That was the only one of us from before we were officially together. And we had taken many more afterwards. There was one with us at the New Year's Eve countdown, one with us at the festivals, one with him cooking, one with him sleeping, one with him going through chemo, one with him pacing in the hospital yard, and the last one with him smiling weakly at the camera. He seemed to have known that it would be the last memory he could ever leave me with. The timestamp said that it had been taken on March 26th, one day before my birthday. It had been the day before my 20th birthday. Try all the different ways transferring between subway lines, and another achievement I didn't get to see. So this is an S rank, because this was everything, right? History. Yeah, that's all of them. Well, does that mean that we are completely done with Lee Wen now? Because we finished her profile. Huh. Okay, so we got Carlos. If I could pronounce that like a normal person instead of Carlos. We got Carlos. Concrete death. Day spent in prison could be boring. At noon, while the sun was right in the middle of the sky, Yin and Kwang, apologies for mispronouncing, got into an argument with each other in the yard yet again. In a couple of minutes, they would start a brawl, and everyone else in the yard, inmates and guards alike, would become spectators. It had turned into a daily routine. I sat under a tree far away from the ruckus. I wore my hat low and put my hands in my pockets, hoping to hide my nervousness from the guards and the other curious inmates. I had been in prison for almost half a month. At first I thought that I might have been arrested for wandering the streets in women's clothing. It was a strange reason to be arrested in Hong Kong, but I simply couldn't think of any other possibilities. Never would I have imagined that another possibility could exist. They finally told me that I had been arrested for murder. This was beyond ridiculous. In the 10 commandments of the Catholic Church, the 5th commandment, thou shalt not kill. How could I possibly have committed murder? And the person that they accused me of killing, I had never even met him before. Ren used to tell me stories about how gangs would sometimes send some of their own young boys to confess for the crimes of the bosses. But usually they would at least get the story straight first. Why hadn't I heard anything in advance? I tried to send a message outside, hoping to get in touch with Mr. Kwan or any of the other people in the group. But I hadn't heard anything back. Just when I was starting to lose hope, an unexpected visitor came to see me. It was so brave and nice for Yi to visit. She was wearing a light green, yes, even more beautiful than the one I remembered. Her hair hadn't all grown back yet, but she still looked good. Yi told me that after I saved her from the auction house, she had been worried about me. She had even sent someone from the Blood Gang back to Pitt Street 99 to ask about me. They found out that I had never been back there ever since. Coincidentally, the man Yi had sent ran into Ren. Ren had been worried about me too, and he also happened to know Yi's man, so Ren went with him to the Blood Gang and told Yi everything he knew. I was arrested by the police on the same day that I helped Yi escape. Mr. Kwan heard from the auction house about what I had done. He was outraged. He was furious even. But before he sent people to come after me, he got a phone call from the secretary of Mr. Lin. In the phone call, he was told that it had been arranged for me to stay in prison. From then on, whatever happened to me should not concern group loyalty anymore. Mr. Kwan and the others didn't know for sure how I had offended the bosses so much. Based on the instructions they heard, they suspected that I wouldn't have much longer to live. Ren gave Yi all of my personal belongings that I had left with the group, hoping that she could bring them to me when she visited. Yi's finger accidentally touched my phone when she was showing me my things. It lit up. A woman with curly red hair appeared on my screen. One of the Blood Gang members with us immediately recognized her. "What? Do you know my sister?" I couldn't contain my excitement and jumped up from the chair. "Stay quiet, you moron!" The guard behind me stepped forward and pushed me back down. Yi unlocked her phone and turned the screen towards me after a few clicks. I saw a list of people, some without a name but only a photo, followed by a string of digits. I read through the list one by one and stopped at the 5th person. She looked so much like my big sis, but her name was labeled Dragon. That was quite a coincidence. Your sister last contacted you from Hong Kong, right? Well, she has never left. She is now one of the top assassins in the field. There's an $8 million bounty on her head. Dragon is her codename. Yin and Yes finally started fighting. Cheers erupted around them. All of the other inmates and guards were gathering around them. I snuck into the storage room and at the corner of the yard while no one else was watching. I had long noticed this one locker inside the storage room. It was full of random things that had not been claimed in a long time. I opened the locker with one hand and pulled my other hand out of my pocket. I had been holding some tools in my palm, which was completely wet as I had been sweating nervously the whole time. The tools had been brought in by Yi. She had hidden them inside of the toiletries that she gave me. She told me to use these tools to break out of the prison. Yi also said that my being arranged into going to prison probably had something to do with my sister. Someone might be using me as leverage to blackmail Alicia. Or it could be a revenge on her by punishing me. Whichever the case was, I needed to get out of here as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the Black Dragon Gang was in control of this prison, so Yi and the Blood Gang couldn't just break me out of here. Therefore, I had to do that part by myself. Once I was out, the Blood Gang would assist me in any way they could. So, a prison break. Was I capable of something like that? Never mind whether or not the guards would catch me if I tried. My cellmate alone would probably ruin the whole thing before I even got started. Nevertheless, I decided to hide the tools well in advance. Even if somebody discovered them here, they wouldn't be able to trace them back to me. As for my sister, I needed more time to think about this new information. Maybe I could find out more while I was still inside. I was just about to close the locker when I heard slow footsteps and wheel rumbling against the ground outside. They were getting closer and closer to the storage room. Crap, please don't be the guards. I hastily hid inside the locker and closed it. I could still see a little of what was going on outside through the door crack. A blond man in a prison uniform pushed the cart inside and closed the door. There were a few bags of concrete in the cart. I had heard that a new prison building was under construction. Lots of inmates were assigned to work on the site. He must be one of them. He started to unload the bags. 1, 2, 3, huh? Another inmate was under the bags. His mouth was gagged and his limbs were tied up. I finally recognized both of them. The blonde one was said to be an infamous serial killer. Everybody called him Pi, and he had been sentenced to life in prison. The other one that Pi had just dragged out of the cart and tossed on the ground was Kai. He was a serial rapist who had been sentenced to 20 years for over 14 assaults. He was lying there barely conscious. It wasn't unusual for inmates to have a go at each other. However, Kai seemed to have been completely knocked out. Our yard time would be over in half an hour. If they stayed in here too long, it might be too hard to sneak out. If Pi found me hiding in the locker, that might be even worse. Pi put on his gloves. I swallowed nervously. He pinned Kai to the ground and choked his neck, until Kai eventually stopped moving completely and opened the locker. He noticed me. Pi grabbed me by the collar and dragged me out of the locker, then chopped me on the neck with his bare hand. Unimaginable pain traveled from my neck to my head, and I could feel my brain being cut off from the rest of my body before I blacked out. When I woke up, I found myself stuffed inside a bulk bag. Everything below my chest had been submerged in concrete, which had not completely hardened, but the pressure on my chest was making it almost impossible to breathe. To stop me from making any sounds, he had also sealed my lips with a piece of cloth soaked with concrete. I rocked my body as hard as I could and fell to the ground. Then I saw another bag which had been filled with solid concrete right before my eyes. The weird shape of the bag convinced me that Kai must be inside of it. It was late at night. Pi would probably come back early in the morning and finish the job. Then he would throw these two bags with our bodies in them into the foundation of the new building and pour some more concrete over both of our concrete coffins. No one would ever know. I had nothing to do with this. I was just here to hide something. How did I end up like this? Well, let's see if we can make you end up like something else. What if you opened the locker first? You opened it until Kai stopped moving. Maybe this, I don't know. I don't think this is right. Tied me up and tossed me aside after noticing me. And then I watched Pi perform an unbelievable operation on Kai. He made sure that Kai would never be able to assault anyone again. He must be a total psycho. He still wasn't done. Pi stuffed the mutilated Kai into a bulk bag and started pouring the concrete he had mixed into the bag. Kai was soon completely covered in concrete. Kai no longer existed in this world. Then Pi grabbed another empty bag and walked towards me. Soon I would no longer exist in this world either. That seems bad. Okay. Nope. Hang on. So, nope. 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 So open the locker is not the first one. What about the second one? So not that. What if I move it down? No. What if I do this? No. How many? Oh god. There's still 3 solutions left. Do that. No. This? No. I can't even find one. Let alone the 3 that are left. So it's none of these 2. So what if that first? Nope. There we go, that's something. Again, I don't think this is it. This doesn't seem... Never mind, the music changed, we got it. I made up my mind and came out of the locker. I looked at the unconscious Kai, hoping that he was still alive. Hey, don't you think that he has suffered enough? He'll be 60 by the time he can get out, and he will die alone for sure. I'm certain he will regret what he did in his youth. Killing him now is actually showing him mercy, right? You don't really have to do this. I inched closer to the door as I was speaking. I needed to stay as far away from this lunatic as I could. I didn't really have any sympathy for Kai. I heard that he had even raped some 50-year-old woman. By that count, he might still hurt people even if he was released at 60. Pi seemed to be pondering my words. Huh? Who knew that lunatics could think too? When I was only 2 steps away from the door, he spoke. You make a good point, but I still think he should suffer just a little bit more. What he did next paralyzed me. I stood there completely stunned, watching Pi take my brand new dagger out of the locker and use it to cut off Kai's private part. He then rubbed some concrete on his wound. Next, he covered Kai's severed private part with concrete and stuffed it into Kai's hands. Kai was still unconscious the whole time. This was something that a normal person would never witness their whole life. I was in such shock that I completely forgot about escaping. After he was done, Pi asked me what I had been doing in the locker while cleaning up the blood on the floor. I still couldn't move, and I dare not lie to the psycho in front of me. I told him everything. He finished his cleaning, walked up to me and put one arm around my shoulder. The cloth in his right hand, soaked with Kai's blood, even brushed against my frozen face. A prison break. Sounds like fun, count me in. Oh, so now we are tagging along with a psycho. Well, that's just crazy.
Porque siempre me pasa esto.
An ace! Are we playing cards now? The nightly roll had just ended. All of the gates were locked. It had finally quietened down and the guards had left. I pulled a chair up to the bottom bunk and sat in front of Hotaru with a smile on my face. I need to ask you a favor here. Hotaru and I had been in the same cell for over 2 months. We were still not friends who would chat with each other, so he had to be a little surprised at what I had just said. I figured that even if he didn't want to respond, he would be curious at what I wanted. What? I'd like to play a card game with you. Oh, we are playing cards! The whole thing began about a month ago. Yi had come to visit me in prison and warned me to get out of here as soon as I could. A prison break sure sounded cool to me, but it was an incredibly difficult task. Then I was caught by Pi while trying to hide the tools. I had no choice but to tell him everything. To my surprise, he offered to join me. Ugh, what kind of luck did I have? I used to watch a movie with Ren about a prison break. In the movie, the prisoner had been secretly digging a hole in his cell for years until he finally managed to escape on a stormy night. Would I have to do this for years too? Besides, this was not something that would get easier with more people involved. We even lived in different cells. Someone was bound to grow suspicious about him and I talking to each other during every yard time. Therefore, to succeed, the first thing I needed to do was to get Pi in the same cell as me. While Hotaru was a greedy, conniving, and disgusting weasel of a man, he had his own weaknesses. Rather, there was something about him that I could exploit. Hotaru loved card games, and he was a great player. He played with the other inmates a lot, sometimes with wagers of over 5 figures. He had won a lot of money in here with his special skills. Nevertheless, many people were still willing to play with him. For one single reason. He never bet any money himself. Instead, he only bet favors. If Hotaru lost, he would do one favor for the winner as long as it was within his power. Hotaru got along really well with all the guards. He had no trouble smuggling in some contraband or getting some privileges for someone. Even the guards enjoyed playing a hand or two with him every once in a while. It was always a sweet deal for Hotaru. And so it was time for me to ask him for a favor. If I could win, there was no doubt that he would agree to switch cells. But are they allowed to? Can inmates just do that? I didn't have to worry about him being suspicious of my intentions or reporting it to the guards. Hotaru's only good quality was that he would always hold up his end of the deal. The only problem was that it would not be easy to win. I'd never played poker when I was in Mexico. After coming to Hong Kong, I had played a couple of times when Ren would teach me. Besides, I didn't have any money to gamble with. This wasn't my idea, it was Pi's. Pi agreed to lend me a lot of cash. He had even blackmailed some of the inmates to help train me. Soon, everybody seemed to think of me as Pi's sidekick, and they began to show me more respect. A month had gone by and I was finally feeling a little confident. Win or lose, it all depended on tonight. I took out 10 1,000 Hong Kong dollar bills and counted them in front of Hotaru. He was ready to lie down, but I saw his eyes glisten. He sat back up and crossed his legs. Fine, let's have a quick game then. Blackjack. Weren't we playing poker? And with 21 points with the Decimate, they really know how to enjoy their lives. The rules were simple. Can we play poker instead? I've played a lot of Balatro recently, so I have a solid feeling of poker. Both sides drew 4 cards from the pile after shuffling. The players then exchanged 1 card with each other. Whoever had the hand that added up closest to 21 wins the hand. An ace's value would be either 1 or 11, while jacks, queens and kings all counted as 10s. If both players had the same sum, the hand was a tie and they'd draw a new hand. The one whose hand was closer to 21 wins half of the opponent's bet and the game continues. If the winner had a hand of exactly 21, he wins half of the opponent's stake and the game ends. Both players should put down the same bet at the beginning, and whoever had more winnings wins the whole game. While the rules made the game sound like it could go on forever, it usually ended quickly, and as there were numerous combinations that added up to 21. Still, I didn't expect for him to play blackjack with me, since I relied a little more on pure luck than skill. It relied on. Then again, I wasn't so sure if it was a good thing for me or not. Shuffling, drawing. I stared at my cards, reading right now. Thought long and hard with my heart pounding in my chest and decided to keep these cards. 2, 3, 6, and I gave Hotaru this card, 8. I wish I had this card in my hand. I took the card from Hotaru. It was an ace. Why would he give me an ace? Hotaru slammed his cards on the bed. 8, ace, ace, ace. Game over. Thanks. Hotaru grabbed the 5 bills, stuffed them in with his other winnings and went to sleep. Only one game. I was still sitting in my chair, stunned at my unbelievably bad luck. Would Pi's plan really work? Was there another way? Yes, by divine intervention! Because we just give him a 2 instead. Wait. So, 5, 11. So if I give him this, that's 14, 15, 16, 17, so I'll have 18. Oh, wait, whoops. I didn't see that. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I'm just gonna quickly scoot through all of this. I didn't notice the thing down here. Retry. Okay, so we have an ace. So we take the ace, obviously. So now we have 17 and 20. So that's not good. This isn't good either. What if I give you the dad? So that's 17, 18, 19. Wait, this is so math. 17, that's 20. But then I get 22. Okay, I'll just do this so we can get the story and blah, 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 blah. With the, with the stars and the whatnot. Wait. Oh yeah, because he gives me an ace. Huh? Hotaru and I slammed our cards on the bed at the same time. Game over. Oh, he had 21 too. Oh, he's a cheater. Well, Mr. Hotaru. We searched through the entire cell and still couldn't find the missing 2. Hotaru suspected that someone must have messed with the cards the last time he played. In the end, we had to get a new deck and we started the game. And luck was not on your side. Okay, so. What if I give Hotaru an ace? So 14, 17. Wait. What if I give you that and then this? So that's 8. That's 11. So that's not good. Right? This is not good. Took the card. It was an ace. You cheated. I didn't understand what had just happened. Hotaru showed me the rest of his hand. Ace, ace, ace. Including the ace he had just given me, there were 5 aces. There had to be something wrong with the cards. But Hotaru didn't give me a chance to explain. He went straight back to bed. I absolutely hate cheaters. Go play with the others, you loser. Okay, so that's not it either. Okay. Hang on, I gotta figure this one out here. So if you... Oh! So you wish you had the ace. The ace has to be down here. Absolutely. So he's giving me an ace. So I need 10. That's not possible. What about this? No. What about this? No. What about this? No. What about the 6? There we go. I think this might be it. And I'm gonna pretend like I totally mathed this one. Was an ace. He showed me neither of us, but this hand was closer. Okay, so this is not it. Well, there's still 2 options left. But if I... No, I have to have the ace on my hand then. Right? Because if I have the ace on my hand, nothing good is going to come from that. This is going to make it more than 21. Now I'm going to have 22. Still with the 5 aces. Wait, what if I... They keep talking about the missing 2. What if I give the missing 2... Or if I wish I had the missing 2. This does not make sense. I'm trying my best. Here we go. There we go. I took the card from Hotaru. It was an ace. Why would he give away an ace? I double-checked my hand. Hang on. 7, 8... plus 11, that's 19. How the fuck is this 21? No. 3 plus 6 is 9. Plus 1, that's 10. Plus 11, that's 21. Jesus. Hotaru looked at the cards and yelled, "You cheated." He showed me his hand. 2 ace, ace, ace. How could there be 5 aces? No, I didn't. It must be you. Don't lie to me. If you were still a man, just own up to it. I honestly didn't know where the 5th ace came from. Almost like some divine intervention, huh? Even though I didn't think Hotaru would do something like this, I couldn't afford to be a pushover right now. Hotaru looked a little tense. He was silent for a while and eventually squeezed out a "sheesh." Fine, you won. But let me be clear, I'm not a miracle worker either. Of course, all I'm asking is you switch cells with Pi. Please say yes, pretty please. I silently prayed to the Lord in my heart, and both of my hands were clenched into fists. Hotaru looked troubled this time. Dad, sorry, I can't. No way. I collapsed into the chair and let out a disappointed sigh. I didn't expect that the plan would fail at this step. I was so close. Well, listen. I'll tell you why, but you have to promise not to tell anyone. Hotaru put away the cards and lowered his voice. Although, even if you do, I can guarantee you'll be the one to suffer. He got off the bed. Then he started pulling out the stuff that he had been piling underneath it. Then he told me to look under the bed. I lay down on my stomach and put my head to the ground. Whoa, a huge hole. Master of Gamblers, win the card game, achievement unlocked. So he is also working on getting out of here. Okay, let's see here.
Dios, ¿qué debería
Catch
hacer?
me if you can. Okay, so it seems that in the next one, Carlos is gonna be doing a little prison break here. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Alright, I'm out.